So, good afternoon. Today with me is Yuri de Brabander. He comes from Belgium and currently is cooperating and working for the Belgian Ministry of Finance. He made 1,000 of internships all over the world. Currently, he is connecting with us from Istanbul, Turkey. Hello, Yuri.
Hello, Alexander. It's very great to hear you, and I would like to thank you for this opportunity and to have thought about me for inviting me. So, dziękuję bardzo.
Proszę. I know that we can speak in French. On peut parler français. Malheureusement, aujourd'hui, it will be French. So let's start it with all of your experience and your knowledge. The very first questions. Could you describe how Belgium's foreign policy system works? I know it's a very broad question, but try to elaborate on main points.
Okay, so yeah, it's actually for me a very interesting question because Belgium is like a small country. We only have 11 million inhabitants, but I like to think, we have a kind of special place in the world. Actually, not many people know this, but this year, 2021, it's actually 100 years ago that the custom union between Luxembourg and Belgium was created. And this was actually the basis for what later would become the Benelux, and after the Second World War, like the European Union. So I guess like Belgium has a very special place with the NATO headquarters and both the EU institutions and many other institutions located there. So we have many international organizations, like we are acting as a host for them, but we are also very interesting ourselves actually because we have a very complex internal system, and this has a big influence on the outside, like our foreign relations. For instance, we don't only have Belgian embassies and consulates in the world, but we actually have also about, I guess, 11 Flemish permanent representations abroad. Then we have like even more Wallonian, Brussels Wallonie representations abroad, and then the FIT, Flanders Investment and Trade, and then AWEX like for Wallonia. So we have a very complex system, and this basically rests on two principles. Like the one principle, it's called in Latin in foro interno, in foro externo. And actually, this is a difficult way to say which is a competence of one of the three regions or one of the three communities in Belgium is also a competence of these communities or regions abroad. So the foreign policy is actually not an exclusive domain like of the federal state, and this has historical regions because what Flanders actually, or the people in Flanders actually wanted for a long time was cultural autonomy, because for a long time it was not possible, for instance, to go to university, so to pursue higher education in Flemish. So that's why we have actually three communities: the Dutch speaking, French speaking, and the German speaking. And for the Wallonians, after the Second World War, because they had a very an economy like based on old industry, like coal mines, they are still very important weapon manufacturers, whereas Flanders is more like with its four ports oriented on trade and services. So Wallonia wanted more economic independence, and that's why we have three regions, because Brussels could not be claimed by both, so could not be part of one of them. So we have three regions: the Flemish region, the Wallonian region, and the Brussels region. And all of these, they have actually their foreign like representatives abroad, which results in not only having Belgian embassies abroad, but also permanent representations of the smaller parts. A second principle of a foreign policy is that there is actually no hierarchy between the federal state and the communities and regions on the other. So basically, if both generate laws, there is no one that overrules like the other one. Like I can give like a non-foreign policy related example. For instance, during the COVID-19 crisis at the very beginning, when the lockdown was at its harshest, actually on the federal level, they decided that non-essential movements were forbidden. So you could not like go somewhere to play football, for instance. So you could actually, the police could like give you a fine for this. However, at the Flemish level, like the minister president decided it was actually okay, for instance, to visit your girlfriend. So basically, you could be like stopped by the police on the street walking like without a reason, and still you could go to court and say, well, I was like visiting my girlfriend, and in Flanders they say this is allowed. And what they do in this case, usually when it goes to court, like the one which is best in the which suited the defendant most is chosen. So it's like it results like in a very complex but also a very very interesting foreign policy, and it's also something which is like continually evolving. So it's very like a very interesting laboratory of like for sub-state diplomacy.
Okay, in this case, I perceive it was very competitive to live and also to develop your personal career in Belgium. So I would like to ask you about your personal challenges and also achievements. What are your personal experiences in international organizations? And perhaps you can give a tip for young. No, let's stay with the first question. What are your personal experiences in international organizations? And more, where do you recommend to go under the COVID-19, and based on your experience, what should be the main directions for young people who would like to take this challenge and have their own business? Because here we not only talk about private and public sector, but we are trying to combine. So what are your personal experiences?
Well, me personally, I have been like for a very long time on university, and so like I did 2 masters, but what I think is very like important is actually to have practical experience. And actually, I was very lucky. I did my second master at the University like of Antwerp, because like the groups were like much smaller there, and it actually allowed us to have lots of practical experience. So that was like a really good like step from one thing to another. So we did many visits like to the institutions in Brussels, but also 2 times to Geneva. We even had a kind of excursion to Israel and Palestine. And after this, I did an internship with Flanders Investment and Trade at their office in Vilnius, Lithuania. So the office is based in Lithuania, but we actually also were representing Flanders in Estonia and Latvia. And what I think is very interesting about this, because you asked me which direction young people to go, is like I actually first wanted to do an internship at an embassy. So I was writing to various Belgian embassies abroad. But like while studying, I actually discovered there are many more ways to get involved in like diplomacy and international relations. Like you can represent your country, but there are actually also, in my case, I go to a level lower, or you can also go level higher. I'm thinking like of international organizations like NATO, UN, um, WTO and so on. So there are many possibilities. And actually what I liked a lot about my stage in Flanders Investment and Trade, my internship, is that I could have like many practical experience. So I was writing reports, like helping organizing events. Like actually the first event I helped to organize was like the launch of a book by a Flemish author in Lithuania. Like it was actually a book about startups. So like that many different aspects. We launched this book, but also like we actually invited enterprises. Like so we made like simultaneous network event and a book launch. And I think it's very good because this way you can get some experience in what it means to work in an international environment, either as like for government or more private sector. Because actually, well, it was only 3 months. It's not a long time, but of course, like it's very interesting in the beginning, but I think it can also be a very demanding job. I mean, there are also more administrative tasks. So like basically you are, as a diplomat, you are a, how would I call it? You're a civil servant working from abroad. So this is a very big like influence on your private life. So I guess it's good like to do an internship first or to try this like to see whether this like something from you, like a way you would like to live.
Okay, so it means that you can combine working on startups privately to develop your own business, and at the same time, you can focus on, let's say, development in international organizations, your career as a diplomat. Am I right?
Well, actually, you're right. In a certain sense, you're right because of officially I was like working at that time for a government agency, so I was not working like for these startups. I was working for the Flemish government, but of course, if you have actually, I was bringing these startups together and also like bringing these Lithuanian startups together with Flemish entrepreneurs. So of course, like you broaden your network, and it can actually be a step to the private sector. If, like it would have been an option actually, like to build further on the startups and even like to stay there after. Well, it's not what I did, but it's certainly an option. Like if you're working for a consultant embassy or any other government agency, also to like broaden your network and then like go into the private sector. So it's like definitely an interesting option.
Okay, so to sum up, last question, basing on what you said, what advice would you give to others who want to pursue a career in international relations?
There are many things I could advise, but like the basic thing is like to work hard, to be persistent, and never give up. Because me personally, I have had many different like I've had different like interesting. I had different jobs. I had very different like very interesting internships. But actually, um, for most applications, actually you will get turned down. Like I mean, at least for me, this was the case. So it can be um, there might be something you want to do very much, and it might not work out. But yeah, there will always be different opportunities and. Sometimes they might even be more interesting than what you had planned. So it would like definitely encourage also like to see like applying for different and working at different places as a learning process. And so I would like recommend everyone who wants to work in international relations like to work hard to pursue their goals and never give up, and then I guess you will definitely get there.
I hope you meant all people who are watching us, and I think as a alumni of European Academy
Yes.
of Diplomacy, we are both sure that this career is yours and mine is still on tracks. So Yuri, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Dziękuję bardzo.
Proszę.
Thank you for having you today.
It was my pleasure. And as you said, I would also like recommend the European Academy of Diplomacy for anyone who has like interest in pursuing an like international career.
Thank you.